for virtually 2 months now. There's almost daily violence and daily reports of civilian killings. Today, 5 more people have died in firing by security forces. How will the cycle of violence break? If people aren't out on the streets, they've found a new political platform, a new method of protest. In fact, Kashmir's Generation Next has taken to the internet and virtually created that into a political maidan. Nazir Masoodi has the story.
Anger, agitation and violence. Kashmir is on the edge. The fresh cycle of violence that started last Friday is showing no signs of ending. More protesters died in clashes today. Most of them teenagers. The youngest victim only 9 years old. Security forces opened fire on the main parts of the city like the airport road and highway. Police vans also warned of shoot-at-sight orders. A police post was set ablaze in Srinagar, forcing police in many cases to flee their posts. Cornered, the centre decided to send 2,000 more paramilitary personnel to Kashmir, adding to the 3,200 who are already there in the state. But this anger is not restricted to the streets of Kashmir anymore. It's now spread to the World Wide Web. Instead of stones, the protester is armed with a mouse, and his battleground is Facebook and YouTube. By using a simple 2-word status, I protest, the angry youth are letting the world know of the worsening situation in the valley. This group on Facebook has become a virtual campaign in the valley. Started less than a month ago, I Protest already has around 800 supporters. In addition to raising their voices against human rights violations and reports by the electronic media, users share news of the current situation in the valley and post photos detailing atrocities. Many of the supporters of violence have infiltrated the internet, starting groups such as Stone Throwing is Kashmir's Weapon on Facebook.
Print media, whatever media it's being present in Kashmir has been blocked by government agencies. So we are left with only one source, that is internet. And by internet, by virtue of Facebook and YouTube, we can convey our message.
The users have also been posting videos showing scenes of violence and death on YouTube, many of which have gone viral, with thousands of people downloading and forwarding these videos to their networks.
We people are using internet in order to convey our message to the outside world, outside people who are living outside, to make them aware of happenings that are occurring in Kashmir.
This Facebook rebellion marks an online mobilization of e-Kashmiri youth, but also on display sometimes hatred and anger. These are the children of conflict, an entire new generation of young men and women who Omar Abdullah claims are leaderless.
While there are a number of elements that are fishing in troubled waters, one gets the sense that what is happening there today is largely leaderless.
The question is, who can engage with them and how? What language will speak to them?
In curfew-bound Kashmir, there are 2 avenues for protest: the streets and the internet. In both the cases, it is the raw anger that the government needs to address. So far, nobody has managed to open any communication lines with Kashmir's angry generation. In Srinagar, Nazir Masoodi for NDTV.
So who will engage with Kashmir's Generation Next and how? Is anybody speaking a language that they understand? I can tell you by the volley of angry responses that I received personally on Facebook and Twitter last night that we don't seem to be speaking a language that communicates to them. We hear from the politicians, even the separatists every day, but rarely from the young men and women of Kashmir. So tonight on the program, two young men, Junaid Matu joining us from Srinagar, and with me in the Delhi studio, Faizan Ali. I want to start with you, Junaid, and you and I have often debated online and otherwise, but explain to us why the internet is such an important space for people of your generation in the valley.
First of all, Barkha, I've been listening to the intro of the show, and I think we are not serving any purpose by trivializing the expression of dissent online as some sort of a very alien phenomenon. In this day and age, the youth of Kashmir are expressing dissent just like civil actions and civil sentiments are expressed by youth all over the world using the internet, by using tools at their disposal. At this juncture, I would say that the agitation has gradually become more comprehensively popular. It has gone across the board and is being expressed in all forums and on all possible accounts.
But Junaid, I'm sure you'd agree, because nobody wants to see people die. And in fact, a 9-year-old died yesterday. Many of the people who are dying are teenagers, are children. That the cycle of violence must be broken. Now, Omar Abdullah said yesterday in Delhi that he believes that this is, the protests are largely leaderless. Do you agree with that? Do you agree that people of your age do not have a single leader to look up to?
Well, again, that's a self-admission of failure from Omar Abdullah, because he's a young politician. He was portrayed to us as the messiah of the young people. So if he says that the youth of Kashmir are leaderless, that is a telling indictment of his own admission that he has not been able to connect to the constituency he should have been able to connect. Moving on, nobody likes to see people die. These are people we identify with, we relate to. These are our own kith and kin. We don't like to see scratches on their bodies, leave alone the fact that we see them draped in white shrouds when they should be playing. But trivializing the whole issue by calling it a cycle of violence where people protest, come out in the streets, are shot, are murdered, if I may, and then there are more protests leading to more deaths. That's a very superficial and very immature political assessment by our Chief Minister and by people who do that. There is a sentiment, and the only people who are responsible for psychologically cornering the people of Kashmir and this generation of Kashmiris are those who have taken up a jackboot approach. You cannot curb dissent. You cannot go on curbing dissent for months together, confining an entire nation, putting people in their homes, trivializing their aspirations, and then expect them to behave reasonably and rationally.
But
that premise is completely unreasonable.
Let me ask Faizan then, many people say that there is a young generation, your age and Junaid's age, and that is the generation that today's politicians need to communicate with, and that is the generation, ironically, that nobody seems to be able to reach, nobody seems to be able to penetrate and get through to people of your generation.
Barkha, the irony is, even today you had announcements on the streets, जो कोई सड़क पे देखा जाएगा उसको गोली मारी जाएगी, जो बचेगा उसको फिर से गोली मारी जाएगी. And when things like this happen, how can I be inhumane enough not to protest against the killing of a 7-year-old? I can understand him being a part of the mob and being shot, but he was beaten to death. And if people don't expect that, call me anti-national, call me a terrorist, call me sponsored by LET, call me sponsored by Pakistan, but if I protest against his killing, I have every right to. Call me whatever you may, but I still will. I being in Delhi, I don't have the avenue to go out on the streets and protest, but I will do whatever I can. I'll do it online. If the people of my land need my blood, I'll go out and give them my blood. I'll work for the injured. I'll do whatever I can, which is in my power.
But can I ask you something? An online protest is a peaceful protest, and unless it descends into abuse or hate, nobody can object to it. Of course, you have a right to object to civilian killings, to a child, being killed in firing. I agree with you. But do you support, for example, the burning of a police station?
Barkha, the thing is, it's not just about the burning of a police station. Why was the police station burnt in the first place? How many 12-year-olds have been shot? In the past 40 days, the toll stands at 40. And when in 40 days, 40 people are killed, and the chief minister of this place, who's behaving like a runaway convict, issuing video statements from from Kashmir, addressing the media in Delhi, what does that leave us with? Call us whatever you may, but the youth of this place have never been taken into account. You may talk of youth being on the streets, youth dying on the streets. You may talk of imprisoning an 80-year-old. But what about us? It's the youth of this place who are dying on the streets.
Junaid, can I ask you, because this has been written about and debated, it's been debated on your Facebook page as well. Do you believe that the internet commentary, like mirroring the discourse that's taking place in Srinagar, has become filled with a certain kind of intensity that's almost dangerous, that's often bordering on hatred for people who don't agree or who don't agree fully?
Sure, but well, where is the surprise? If you have confined, it's a pressure cooker situation. You have confined this sentiment, there is no vent, there is no listening ear. The thought makers in Delhi, much like the leaders in Kashmir, are behaving as if they have adult dyslexia. They don't seem to get it. 90s is dwarfed in comparison to what we are faced with now. There is an overwhelming sentiment of neglect and absolute humiliation in Kashmir. And there is hatred. There is hatred because hatred is a passionate emotion. There is passion, and that has been pent up. No vent has been provided. And if you talk about Facebook, I just heard you asking Fazan that protests on Facebook are peaceful. But there were arrests made. People who are active on Facebook have been harassed by this government in Islamabad. There is record, there are media reports of people who are actually on Facebook, have a particular bent of mind and sentiment, regardless of how they express themselves. We have free speech, you cannot deny that. So if you start arresting little kids just because they are agitated or just because you think they are professing what is violent, then what do you leave them with? I mean, frankly speaking, then the only avenue you leave them with is becoming gun fodder and going out onto the streets.
But can I ask you,
again, who is responsible?
Can I ask you both now for last comments? What do you believe, because you don't agree with the cycle of violence metaphor, and your generation, many of your generation don't seem to agree with it. What do you believe can be done to create an environment where at least people can go out again, not get killed, where there aren't these images of violence on a daily basis? I mean, surely you believe, or let me rephrase it and ask you, do you believe a political initiative from Delhi would be welcomed at this point?
Well, it would be welcome, but if you come to think about it, we cannot sit on the table. As much as Delhi doesn't want to sit on the table while there is strife, we cannot sit on the table while we are burying our children. So the dichotomy there is too conspicuous to ignore. We cannot bury our 9-year-olds and 15-year-olds and be expected to talk, and we have always been talked down to. As for what needs to be done for this cycle to end, I don't believe it's a cycle. I believe it's an out-and-out suppressive, prolonged mechanism of massacring a generation. So what needs to be done is that Delhi needs to get off its high horse. The state government needs to realize that it has completely failed in connecting to its people. A generational transition has been sullied, it has been molested, and all hopes have been blown to smithereens.
I'm really at the end of the show. I'm really at the end of the show, but I just want to ask you for one last thought. Is there any leader that you all look up to?
Barkha, it has come down to a point where the people of Kashmir have realized that it's us, nobody cares for us. You may give as many press conferences as you like, you may be involved in jingoistic nationalism, if you may call it that, but the thing is, the people of Kashmir this time, they are giving their blood, they are giving their cars to be used as ambulances, they are giving...
How does this violence end, according to you?
The violence, the first thing, it's the approach you have to maintain. You don't say that people out on the streets, you don't tell them shun the violence and stop these protests.
So you can't solve it with more force?
More force, what I hear is 2,000 more troops are coming to the valley. That's not the way you do it.
Well,
Iron fist is always not the way.
You need politics to answer it, and we'll have to leave it there. We've heard from 2 young men from the valley today. We don't probably hear or talk to young people often enough. Faizan Ali, Junaid Mattu, thank you so much for your time on the Buck Stops here tonight. That brings us to the close of the program, but we'll be keeping a very close eye on the Kashmir story through this week. Thanks for watching. Good night.
The Buck Stops here, brought to you by new range of Park Avenue soaps. It's a man thing. And Accenture Consulting, technology outsourcing Accenture, high performance delivered.
तो ये मैक्स बुको में डायरेक्ट रिलेशनशिप नो थर्ड पार्टी, इसका क्या मतलब? अब देख, तू प्रिया को प्रपोज करेगा, और वो कहे मेरे डैडी से बात कर ले, डैडी जी बोलेंगे चाचा जी से पूछ लेते हैं, चाचा बोले चाची, चाची बोले मामा, मामा बोले ताई जी बोले स्टॉप, अरे राहुल के पापा से तो पूछो।
कॉम्प्लिकेशन बॉस।
अब समझा थर्ड पार्टी?
पार्टी? Where is the party?
Direct relationship. No third party with Max Bupa because we put your health first. This is a baby. A baby generating data in a neonatal ward. Every heartbeat, every breath, every anomaly. From over 1,000 pieces of unique information per second. Helping doctors find new ways to detect life-threatening infections up to 24 hours sooner. On a smarter planet, analyze the data and you can predict what will happen faster. So you can do what they're doing in Toronto and build a smarter hospital. Let's build a smarter planet.
I love challenges. पर condition जो भी हो, मैं रहता हूँ fresh. Wet patches, sweat, there's no room for it.
New Garnier Men Absolute Dry, the first 48-hour antiperspirant powered with perlite, which has 5 times the absorbing power of talc.
Stay dry for up to 48 hours. Of life, no sweat.
New Garnier Men Absolute Dry Antiperspirant.
फोटो पेन हमारा नाम सब पर लिखना अपना काम, लिखूं कॉफी मग्स पे, प्लास्टिक बकेट जग्स पे, कांच के जार और बॉटल पे, स्टील के बर्तन केटल पे, यहाँ भी और वहाँ भी लिखता जाऊँ कहीं भी।
At Photopen, writes on anything. Prestige Group, the name that rules all asset classes in Indian real estate.
Dove Fresh Moisture Bar with 1/4 hydrating milk and the uplifting scent of cucumber and green tea. Let your skin drink it in. Enriched with moisturizers. Present